Meeting to order at 7 p.m. Crystal, can you take a roll of the elected officers?
Councilmember Contreras, present. Councilmember Sean Gillian, present. Councilmember Greg Renenbaum, present. Mayor Pro Tem Leah Young, present. And Councilmember Nathan Crumble, present.
Thank you. Could we all rise, and Pastor Kitchens, if you could lead us in a prayer.
Willow Park City Council, on the way here, I was thinking about the Apostle Paul's letter to Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 2, written in 63 AD. He says this: "First of all, then I urge that supplications, prayers, and intercessions, and thanksgiving be made to all people, for all people, beginning with kings and then all folks in high positions." That's you. Let me pray for us. Father, thank you for the fact that these beloved of our little village here, our community, are willing to give up their evenings and many, many hours helping make this place a good place to live and raise our children, and not only feel safe, Lord, but feel like we thrive. So in tonight's meeting, all the details and all the issues, may the hills be short, not very high, and the things that they accomplish that are positive be high and lofty, and all of it, may God bring glory to you. And we pray this in our Lord Jesus, our Savior's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kitchens.
All right, the first item up is public comments. We have two speakers. First, Mr. Blake Wyndham. If you could state your name and address.
Hello there. Good evening, Mayor and Council, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. My name is Blake Wyndham. I'm the administrator with Texas Health Resources Willow Park at 101 Crown Point Boulevard. And I came just to say thank you for supporting our upcoming event, Super Safety Saturday on June the 4th. It's a family-friendly event that the City of Willow Park and others have invested their financial resources to. So I wanted to publicly talk about that event and just say thank you to the City Council and to the community. So this event is born out of a desire to see community risk reduction in our community. So we're focused on pool and sun safety. We're focused on gun safety, suicide prevention, poison control, home safety, how to escape a fire. And we're focused on all aspects of childhood safety. At this event, we will be landing a Care Flight helicopter and allow the children to take tours of the helicopter. We'll be giving away Coast Guard certified life jackets to all children that wish to have one. We'll be giving away bicycle helmets, some summer safety toys. We'll have face painting, some food trucks there for the community. It'll be free to the community, and we just want to be a community, to be an organization, a hospital, an agency that promotes safe living and childhood safety. So my motivation today is just to come in and say thank you for supporting the group. Tell the community you're welcome to come to the event. Texas Health Willow Park is open 24/7, 365, and is committed to serving you. And if you ever have an experience that's below excellent, below a 10 out of 10, I want to be the first to know about that, because we're committed to providing an excellent patient experience every time. And we hope you'll come to this event. You'll see more advertising about it in the future. So that's all I've got to say.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Mr. Mike Wood. If you could come forward and state your name and address.
It's Mike Wood, and I'm at 124 Kentucky Drive over in Meadow Estates. I just want to thank the council for allowing me a few minutes to speak. What I wanted to talk about tonight was the wife and I were new to Willow Park about a year. We came living in Meadow Estates. We have access to the park there, and noticed that the Wilkes subdivision on Trinity Trail or whatever right there, because they're not putting their construction waste in any kind of a container, the creek is becoming full of construction waste. I counted 72 pieces of direct construction, and my background is residential and commercial construction, so I know what construction material is. I counted 72 in a 100-yard strip in the creek. Everything from styrofoam to big sheets of plastic to bottles to masks. So I don't understand why, that's not being addressed whatsoever. The second thing was in the recycle, every time the recycle truck comes through the neighborhood, there's trash in everybody's yard. The recycle is being handled not in a truck that's designed for recycling. It's just a regular garbage truck. Today was recycle pickup from Dublin Drive, which is right out of Meadow Estates, the back entrance up to Trinity on Sam Bass. Just on the way up here, I counted 20 pieces of trash on either side of the road. Everything from water bottles to beer cans to regular seltzer cans, all that. And the last thing was, I don't understand where erosion control doesn't seem to be. And I looked up on our website, I can't find anything for code enforcement or erosion control numbers. It's not easily accessible, but like, for example, the builder in our neighborhood, he is piling dirt outside of the silt fence. So the last 2 times it rained, heavy rains, where does it all go? It goes right into our storm drains. So we're depositing just tons and tons of dirt into our storm drains. The same thing with the Wilkes townhomes. We have huge piles of dirt over there, and all of it is going into the storm drains. So I'd like to see something done about that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, the others that have signed up to speak tonight are all on a specific agenda item, so they'll be held, those speakers will be later in our agenda when we address that item. So the next item on the agenda is public hearings. The City of Willow Park City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at Willow Park City Hall, 516 Ranch House Road, Willow Park, 76087 for the matters listed below. A public hearing to consider a request to rezone 1.859 acres from local retail IH-20 Interstate Highway Overlay District to commercial IH-20 Overlay District, Lot R, 1R, Block 3, El Chico South, City of Willow Park, Parker County, Texas, located at 108 South Ranch House Road.
Public hearing, do I speak to what that's about?
Yes, I will open the public hearing at 7:07.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, this is regarding the 1.859 acre lot that is located at 108 South Ranch House Road. It's a commercial building that's there now. It is zoned local retail, and the current owners, they're new owners for this property, and they would like to change it from local retail to commercial to make it more versatile and broaden its uses. All of the area around it is also zoned commercial, and so that is.
Right, we do not have any speakers.
The applicant, Austin Riley, is also here.
Okay.
Any questions?
Did you want to speak? Do you want to speak or wait for?
If you have any questions, I'm happy.
Okay, council will deliberate on it, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:08. All right, the next item is discussion and action to adopt an ordinance of the City of Willow Park, Texas, providing for a change in zoning from local retail IH-20 overlay district to commercial IH-20 overlay classification and use designation for Lot 1R, Block 3, El Chico South Edition, Parker County and the City of Willow Park, Texas, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for a penalty, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. That's you again, Tony.
Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing to consider comments regarding this zoning change, and from commercial to the commercial I-20 overlay district to the, from the local retail to the commercial, with also still with the I-20 overlay district intact. The vote was 4-0, and if you concur with the commission's recommendations, the attached ordinance will adopt the zoning change.
Have any questions for Tony?
Not for Tony. Rose, can you go back one slide so everybody can kind of see the, I guess it's like a Google Earth overview? Or do you have that?
This is the only.
Okay. Well, in the packet, there is a slide in there that shows every every place around this that we're discussing is zone commercial, so this would be in line with everything else. Looking at it from, you know, you got Brookshires to pretty much everything right around there. So this is just kind of aligning everything else with it. So just didn't know if you had that available for everybody.
No, sir, that's the only one I have on this
Okay.
slide there.
Okay, any other questions?
No question.
Do we have a motion?
Crystal, Pat, do we have an ordinance number?
I have one, but you can approve it without the,
We can approve without it? Okay.
yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve an ordinance of the City of Willow Park, Texas, providing for a change in zoning from local retail IH 20 overlay district to commercial IH 20 overlay classification and use designation for Lot 1R, Block 3, El Chico South Edition. Is that the right one? El Chico, okay, yeah. Parker County and the City of Willow Park, Texas, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for a penalty, providing for severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Second.
Is that Greg?
Greg?
Yes.
Thank you.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. All right, the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Approve city council minutes from the regular meeting, April 12th, 2022. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to accept and approve city council meetings, minutes for the regular meeting of April 12th, 2022.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda is a presentation by Aledo High School student Gabby Schultz regarding community service project and fundraising efforts for improvements at Cross Timbers Park. Gabby?
I gotta go, give me just a second. Okay, perfect. While she's pulling that up, can everybody hear me good? Okay. Hello, my name is Gabby Schultz. I've met a few of y'all before. I'm a senior at Aledo High School for a couple more weeks, actually. And these slides will show more about what my program is and what my project is. But what I'm a part of, it's called the Ford Scholar Project, or Texas FFA Ford Scholar Project. If you want to move to the next slide, that'd be great, Ms. Rose. Is there a clicker? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You should be good now.
Okay. Next one. So I'm what's called a Ford Leadership Scholar. Last May in my junior year, I ran for this position. It's through the FFA. About 360 kids run in the state of Texas. From that process, we take a test. We have to read a book and take a test over it, and then 24 are selected from there. And then 24 move on to Austin, Texas, where we went through 7 rounds of interviews, and then 10 from there were selected. So only 10 in the state are selected. I was selected along as another Aledo High School student named Dylan Sweat. From there, we do leadership training like no other. It's quite an intense leadership training, and we learn what it means to be uncomfortable in a situation to create a community service project. So that's the goal of this program. That is the 10 of us actually right there. We're sponsored by the Texas Ford dealers, and what we go through is we're able to go through a leadership process where we learn where can we find a need within our community to create a capstone community service project that benefits our community to the best of its abilities. So that's just the 10 of us, and that kind of goes through. So moving on to, I'll go back. So what I chose for my service project and what I found a need in is I've always grown up in agriculture. I've been in part of the FFA for about 5 years now, and I've also been in 4-H for about 8 years. And I've always wanted to do something outside. I grew up in Aledo pretty much all of my life, the Aledo Willow Park area, and I wanted to find something that I could benefit the outside and education. And incorporating 2 of those, I believe agriculture education is a huge, important thing in our community, in our world. Just like air, we may not see it, but we need it, and that's the same thing with agriculture. We need that each day, so educating on that is very important to me. And that's why I chose to work with the Parker County Master Gardening Program here in Willow Park. And I decided to, there we go. do some updates for the garden. This included fundraising for it. So these are just some of what our ideas that we started with and what we would like to do. We are now 9 months into my project, so I'll show some more progress, but here's the updates that we started out with. We wanted to get flagstone laid down, which we have by now. We're looking into the new seating from the money that I've raised so far, and then moving a sign to a more visible location. So this is just kind of what we started out with. The new idea is to incorporate education. As I said previously, agriculture education is a huge deal to me. It's actually my major for college this fall. So I was really inspired by that and wanted to make that happen. So incorporating a butterfly garden, a free little library, and then interpretive signs that you've seen in the pictures. These aren't the exact ones in the garden, but they're examples of what we're going to get made for the garden. We actually already have the free little library set up and made. We just got to install it. And the butterfly garden actually went in today, about an hour ago. That's where it actually came from. So we're excited for that to be in there. I would have more pictures of what it looks like right now, but as I said before, most of it's just now getting installed. So kind of going over the butterfly garden and why I did it. It was a lower cost item, already have some of the plants needed, and provides more education aspect. A butterfly garden, while it may sound super simple, it's actually a really big deal for this garden. I don't know how many of y'all have actually been to the Willow Park Garden area. It's right near Cross Timbers Demonstration Garden is what it's actually called. But a lot of people go through there, and I've actually learned that when I have been working at the garden for about 9 months. And I also did a fundraiser for it around Easter time. I think the weekend before Easter is when I hosted it. We had great success. We raised over $700 for the project. And we kind of did an event with the Easter Bunny as well as several kids coming out. So a lot of kids just come through that garden. And I think a butterfly garden is going to really help with having more time for parents to let their kids play around and look. And I also wanted to have the aspect of having a lot of native plants, native Texas plants. I think that's a really cool education aspect. So we were able to do that successfully. What's been done, so getting to the part of what I have done so far. The butterfly garden has been bought and planted. As I said, it's been planted today. The flagstone has been laid down. They've already had that, but we got that all laid down. The little free library has been built and is about to be installed. And another important part of my project was creating the connections between the school and the garden program themselves. So for those of you who may not know, the Cross Timbers Demonstration Garden Group is a group of other people who, a group of all adults who do this. And they get together, I think, about every Thursday or so, whenever they can, once a week. And they really wanted some more help with having younger youth come out to the school and help them on certain work days to get more stuff done. So that's what I was able to do through my NHS NFA program. We created those connections, and they've had sign-ups, and a lot of kids come out through the week and will throughout the school year. So money raised, going over what we currently have, over $1,491. Where the rest can be allocated, this is what I have in the school bank as of right now, is a new sign, interpretive sign, and seating. So that's kind of our finishing up of the project. So kind of talking about that. It'd be great if we could still continue to raise more money. I'm continuing to do so, which we'll kind of get to when we get to the next few slides. But that's what we have so far and what we're looking into purchasing. So that's kind of a timeline as what my year for Ford Scholars has looked like. It's quite busy. We started training for Ford Scholars in July, and then up till now, and we're in May for the grand opening. I have up till June, but we're continuing to work and install, so we're getting slowly there. So it's been quite the climb. The funnel. This was just kind of an important part because as community members, kind of showing where not only the city government plays, but myself and sponsors, so just kind of showing who's helped in this project. So obviously the community has a huge help in that. They've been great throughout for Willow Park. And that's it. I'm open to any questions for the project.
Thank you, Gabby.
Wow. Thank you. So when it comes to seating, I think with Miss Fisher and Miss White, we're kind of talking about what that would look like. I have over 1,000 right now, but when it comes to seating, what kind of seating we would like. So for the sign, it's going to cost about $800. For the interpretive sign, about $500. It'd be great if we could get up to another $5,000. So,
And you're a senior, correct?
I'm a senior. Yes,
And where are you going to go to school next year?
Texas Tech University.
Huh. And what's your major?
Agriculture education.
Guns up and wreck them.
Thank you.
Good luck, Gabby. Thank you. Thank you so much for working with us. We very much have appreciated all your efforts.
I had to do that.
All right, thank you. The next item is discussion and action The city secretary will issue the certificate of election, administer the statement of elected officials, and the oath of office.
You ready?
Okay, are you doing?
I'll stand down here and you can all do it at the same time.
Okay.
You want to do them at the same time? Greg?
By the way.
Yeah, you get sworn in.
Newly elected.
Start the oath of office.
Thank you.
All right, raise your right hand for me.
Distancing and swearing. Crystal, let me turn this. It looks like it doesn't. Oh, yeah.
Is that better? I'm not used to standing at the podium. All right. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas.
I, and please state your name,
I, Leah Young,
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that
that
I
I
will
will
faithfully execute
the duties of the office of,
the duties of the office of
and please state your position,
Place City Council
City
Place
Council
5
Place 4,
of the state of Texas,
of the
the
state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to
and
the
will
best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the
Constitution and laws
of the United States
of
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Tab those for you, so you can sign that for me. And sign that for me. There's two.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure that's what.
Okay. All right. All right, the next item on our agenda is to consider appointing a mayor pro tem.
I nominate Leah Young for Mayor Pro Tem.
Jumped on that date pretty quick, didn't you?
Second.
All right.
Hold on, let me get back to my desk.
All right. Do we have any other nominations? All right, I'll close the nominations. All in favor?
That was close.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't know about that.
All right, the next item on the agenda is to consider appointing an alternate mayor pro tem. I will nominate Greg Brennenbaum.
I nominate Nathan Crummell.
All right, we have 2 nominations. Do you accept the nomination?
I'll decline.
I'll accept.
All right.
I second Nathan Crummell's appointment to alternate mayor pro tem.
All right, we have a nomination with a motion and a second.
And that is
Any-
Greg and Eric.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yes.
Congratulations.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous, Bristol.
Tight.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations, Nate.
All
Hate to
right.
break it to you, but neither one of them are going to be here in July.
Did you check the vacation schedule before?
I
you-
sure didn't.
Nathan, I will be here, so.
All right.
All right, Matt will be here.
Nate, we're going to do the budget in July when they're not here. So
Okay.
You're
they'll be
Bring it all on.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the financial update from Jake Weber.
Good evening.
Thank you.
This will give you, this is halfway through the year, so this will give you through Q2 of the financial year. And I'm going to just kind of start on that overview. And obviously, if you have questions, as always, just let me know. But I'm just going to try to highlight some of the things that stood out to me and some things I feel that would be important to go over. So starting with general fund, you can see on there, just looking at the very top of that first page, a $1.1 million surplus. So we've had a great start to the year in the general fund. The main drivers of that are your M&O tax is already, you're over budget by about $43,000, which is great. I mean, that, usually at this point in the year, we're about 95% of budget. You have a little bit that trickles in over the last 6 months. You think most people pay their taxes December and January, and we collect by the end of March. And so the fact that we're already over and we'll probably continue to get a little more in, I think probably speaks to the values and just some of the amounts that we've had. That is up from last year, 398,000. The other big reason is obviously we increased the rate from last year. So you think that's a big driver, is we did have a higher rate, but also just the collections have been higher than the past. The other thing is sales tax, you're up 91,000 year-to-date on that. So those are the big things on your revenue. So you see we're 76% halfway through the year. Obviously, the property tax, it's not going to continue to come in like that. And so we're not going to hit 150%, but we are trending in the right direction. The expenses, you can see we're keeping those steady. We're at 52%, and those are fairly consistent. The one thing I'd point out there, if you go to the bottom, you can kind of see a year over year, and you can see the couple other increases. One of them is the personnel. You're up 152,000 from last year, and again, that's because the commitment that you guys made on the budget this year for the new personnel that was added, and so that is why you'd see the increase there. So, like I said, in terms of the general fund, you're sitting really strong. The other thing I'd point out is your building permits. You're up about 130,000 from last year, so that's another one that you're seeing the increased revenue there. You'd see some increased cost associated with that. But again, very strong start to the year. In your water and your wastewater, so I'll start with water and just looking at that. You see we're down 422,000. However, I feel good about where we're at. We're actually ahead of last year if you look in terms of the revenue. We're about to hit the higher months seasonally with the revenue there. And also in February is when we make our big debt service payments on that. So you'd expect to see that down at this point in the year, and then that will catch up as the year finishes out. So that's just to point that out. And then on wastewater, again, you see we're down there. That one, so the revenue actually is fairly flat on that right now. That we may end up down a little bit. My big concern there, and I think we've talked about before, is your future debt service to look at, and that's something I know we've looked at in the budget. We've looked at potential transfers, things like that to cover that. So next year, the debt service increases by another 382 on that wastewater fund. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're going through your budget and looking at that. But I know that's been addressed, it's been discussed. And the big thing there is we continue to add users to the system. And I know there's a lot of homes permitted that are going to come in and help to address that. But that's just something financially to keep an eye on, to kind of see where we're at and just track that. Those are some of the main things I want to point out there. The other thing, I guess, within the water fund I was going to mention is this is the first year that we are buying from Fort Worth. And so I think year to date, we've spent about 80,000 from them. Obviously, we're about to hit some of the more peak times. And so that's something to keep an eye on, again, as you're doing your budget. Financially, we're fine in terms of this year, but as you're looking forward, okay, how much do you expect to buy from them each year, and just tracking that. And so that's something to keep an eye on. So those are kind of from a high level. The other thing I'd point out on that capital project right there in the middle is we did get that bond that was issued in January. So this is on this quarter's financials. You see that $5.5 million there for the roads and the parks. There's been a little bit spent on the park so far, about $38,000. So that's what you see coming out of that. And I know obviously y'all will probably start to do some of the road work and some more work spent out of that here in the coming months. And then you can see on the water line, that has started to spin down a little bit more. And we'd anticipate that to continue to keep an eye, just again, based on what we've received there and as to what we end up with the final numbers. The other thing, so again, I'm not going to go through all those detailed pages with every single line item, but if you have any on specific questions on a specific account, let me know. But just going to the cash page, the bank account balances, just a couple things to point out on that. Your general fund operating cash, you see at 1.684 million. So again, that you're in really good shape. That will come down a little bit as the year goes on, but that's probably the best we've had that in a long time. And so that's a positive sign. Obviously, you see the growth going on. You see the sales tax, the property tax driving that. Again, just looking at your cash balances, water fund, you see you're in good shape. That's why, again, I didn't have any concern there. Some of that money is committed, obviously, with some of the bonds, but that's just something, you see we have 826,000 just in the operational account, and then we have another 1.5 in that Techstar account. And so, again, we've built up some reserves the last couple of years in that account, and so that has helped to cushion if you have some bigger projects or things to come through there. And then also, I mentioned that last time, that CLF RF money that is earmarked the grant money that y'all had received that has to be used for specific uses. And I know there's some items that are being looked at there, and there's a time window that would have to be spent. On the wastewater, you can see we have cash reserves. We can absorb, a year of deficit if we need to, but again, just something to evaluate. And then the last thing I just wanted to point out is it was decided starting in I believe it was March of this year, the water impact fees and the wastewater impact fees were going to get split out into a separate account just for accounting purposes. So the money that was received specifically related to those impact fees is earmarked and used specifically for projects that would be designated for. So we've always done that. However, it was not a specific account or fund that it was tracked under. It was just under the water fund. And so you have a separate bank account for each of those now, and they're actually falling under different funds. So it's just something I think that I know Bill had looked into in terms of the decision there to account for that a little bit differently. So it's kind of specifically earmarked, and you'll see those. That's why you see those new accounts there under those other funds. So those are some of the things, again, that I just kind of wanted to point out and look at that I had seen looking through, halfway through the year this year. Any questions that y'all had on anything?
Any questions for Jake?
Interest in sinking?
We have, so that's something to keep an eye on. We did bring in more. I don't have a dollar amount as to how much more we brought in on that. I'd have to look. We have 581 in there. We still have another round to pay. We're going to end the year up with some money in there, and that's something to decide. Are there options to pay off some existing debt on some of these higher rate loans? What can be paid off with the money that's there, and then also look, how does that impact the rate next year? So those are some discussions to have and to look at, because we had some cash coming into the year, and we did collect more than we had budgeted, or more than we'll pay out. And so that's something we need to look at and just see what do we do with that little bit extra we've collected there. So it may give you opportunity for some, like I said, some pay down if you need to.
Okay,
So,
The proverbial
thank
bug
you.
in here.
All right, do we have a motion to accept?
You don't need to accept it. Just-
We have action on the agenda.
You can accept it if you'd like.
It's
But we
there
don't.
for-
All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. To adopt an ordinance approving a budgetary amendment in the amount of $45,070.74 for 2 additional peace officers for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Got Chief, I was going to say, I don't see her, I see Captain. Yes. I knew you were here.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, good evening, thank you. First thing I'd like to just kind of address is why now? Why not wait? And it's logistics related mainly, sort of. We cannot physically train 4 people at a time. We don't have that type of capability. So my plan is to ask you for 2 today, and then I plan on revisiting this in next year's budget for 2 more. What I have attached in your packets is a patrol workload analysis. Based on that data, we need 6 additional officers total right now. And that's to attain a 50% preventative patrol time. We strive to maintain 2 on every shift. However, if you only have 2 on a shift, you can't really maintain 2 on a shift. We currently have 1 shift that is operating with 1 officer consistently. In the time frame starting last, I believe we ran it back to last September, that officer has answered alarms by himself, disturbances, major crashes on I-20, 1 was a fatal, suspicious persons, suicidal subjects, and 1 call involving a man with a machete. And these types of calls, especially the crashes and whatnot, take a lot of time. So while that officer is dealing with that 1 incident, there's no one in the city. And so we need to get our patrol staffing levels up to an acceptable level so that we have that preventative patrol time within the city. And we do need 6, but conservatively, I'm asking for 4. 2 now and 2 for next year.
we have any questions for Carrie?
From a budget standpoint, where do you see this, where's this being allocated from?
So for this fiscal year,
Mhm.
we do have some, we've got some reserves already built up that we can absorb it. For the next fiscal year in October, I believe she said in the staff memo, you're looking probably about 135 in personnel costs for these two.
For these two, and then the two additional in October will have higher costs associated because we will have to purchase some additional equipment, such as portable radios, which run in the range of $8,000 to $9,000 a piece. And then we're going to have to buy some more handguns.
What about vehicles? We said,
Vehicles were fine
We're fine.
okay.
this year. Talk to me again in
What-
2 years.
What, if we approve this tonight, what we're looking at is the 45,000, but for the rest of the fiscal year. And even if it's more than 45,000, we can cover that. That's not going to be a problem. What you're committing to is, you're saying the budget next year will increase by another 135,000 to cover the personnel costs for these two people we just hired. Clearly, you don't want to hire them in July and then lay them off in October. So, you're more or less starting your budgeting process for PD tonight by doing this. I feel good. I don't know where our value number is going to come in at, but I feel good that we can absorb this. I don't know if we can absorb the two in October. It just depends on what the valuations come in at and some other things. Carrie and I talked this afternoon about the PD budget overall, and there might be some cost savings in places that we can find. But you're going to be committing to hiring 2 new officers in October if you approve this tonight. That's your budget answer.
All right. And what about supporting surrounding communities? How much of our time are we, is our force strictly for Willow Park? Or
No.
or is there some support outside this community that we're having to be
Yes, and it's-
responsible for?
And it's mutual. I mean, these calls, especially the major incidents on the highway, we couldn't do it without our partners, at Hudson Oaks or DPS. We rely on them and they rely on us. But just for officer safety, because they may not always be available on those alarm calls or suspicious person calls. You may have seen on Facebook, I believe it was last month, where we did catch a burglary in progress at one of the local vet clinics. Unfortunately, one of the dogs that was housed there was killed. But we caught that burglar and, we had 2 on the shift that night, but that still took a lot of time.
Sure.
So adding, Chief West, so adding 2 more, will that not eliminate it, but will that help alleviate the 1 officer without backup and improve officer safety?
It will help, it will not eliminate.
Okay. 6 would eliminate altogether, correct?
We're never going to eliminate all of the officer safety issues, but 6 will get us to the 50% of preventative patrol time.
Okay.
Because if we're tied up on alarms or people with weapons or major incidents on the highway, that leaves the city unprotected. And so, especially when we have to take someone on an emergency detention order for mental illness, those suicidal subjects, we have to take them to Fort Worth JPS. So that takes a long time, and if we've only got that 1 person here, it's completely unprotected. Now, if we've got 2 on the street and, there's still going to be 1 person in the city, but it's a start. I mean, we've got some growing pains I know we've got to go through.
I think Carrie's taken a pragmatic approach to it. Because if she came in and said, I need 6 at one time, you're increasing the budget by about $475,000 in 1 year. That's not really fiscally possible. The legislature, in their infinite wisdom, has capped our revenues at 3.5%. So, 3.5% increase this year for the next budget year is about $60,000, and we're about to spend $135,000 of it. The sheriff's office just hit us with an increase of dispatch fees by $37,000. So that 3.5% is already being consumed, and we haven't even started budgeting yet. So that's, that's a budget issue that we get to deal with in October, but, I think you guys need to know about it.
That's a $37,000 increase on top of what we already pay
Yes,
the county, correct?
111,000 for dispatch.
Okay.
How does your figures, as far as building out Willow Park, because we see a lot of construction around, are these numbers based on that growth that we could see in the next year timeframe, or is this just to bring us up to standard of where we are right now?
The 6 that I'm speaking of is to bring us up to speed right now. That doesn't account for any additional call load, and the other factors that are in that staffing analysis that take, downtime for reports, they do get to eat a lunch break. So all of that time out of service goes into that number. So the more we're out of service, whether it's on a call or report writing or whatever, takes away from that 50% that we want to be in the city
Right.
patrolling.
Coming from that same background as Chief West, I read through all this, and she's spot on. I'll give her credit because she's done a lot with what she has right now, and I commend you for keeping up with what you've got. Absolutely, I know you need more staff, and you're spot on with these numbers as well, in my opinion.
Like, we can handle the two now, and I feel, I don't ever want to say I'm 100% certain about next year. Y'all, one of my criticisms, I hedge my bet a whole lot on the budget, but I feel like we can absorb that. I don't know how much more we can absorb, but we can certainly get that.
Good start, though.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that feeling comfortable you can absorb this, that you will have values, you will have the ability to have a better discussion about those extra 2 hires when
Yes.
we're doing the budgeting?
Yes.
Knowing, I know you've just started thinking it through, we put 3 firefighters in last year's budget and increased everything. That was a big staffing increase for the city.
Yes.
This is another big staffing increase.
Yes.
We've had other staff increases, so you feel comfortable, because that's the hardest one for us. Like you said, we're not going to hire somebody now and lay them off in 3 months. So these are not things that we can cut and suffer for a year. But you feel comfortable that this will get us to the planning point in June and July, that we
Yes.
can handle this? Okay.
Yes. The 2 extra, as much as I know we need them, the 2 extras, that's going to be a big hurdle to get over. And yeah, I need to do a sales tax analysis and see where we are in sales tax. We used up our unused cap last year, so we kind of spent all of our extra space for the firemen, and rightly so. Mike needed them. I mean, he's been needing them for years. So, it's, but yeah, you want me to put my daughter's tuition on it? No. But
Well, I'll just make a point that Jake managed to say that we had a surplus of 43K, and Carrie's asking for 45.
I was really happy he went first.
Just thought that was, yes, very convenient.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
and I'll say the sales tax is up. He's at 91,000 through the end of March. Through the end of April, I think we're up another 25 or 30 from last year. May's will come out, if they didn't come out today. It'll come out tomorrow. I'm expecting a big number for May. So our sales tax continually outpaces what we budget. So there's, if there's some extra funding available. The tried and true thing that when we first got here 5 years ago was we'd always borrow from the water fund. I really don't want to go back to that if we don't have to. I'm glad the general fund's finally standing on its own.
Yes.
Brian,
Sir.
with the new hotel open now,
Yes, sir.
that's going to help us out in this.
That'll help out in hot tax. It should help in some sales tax. Obviously, they're going to stay at the
Yeah,
hotel. They're going to go eat
but
somewhere.
Hot, yeah.
But the hot tax cannot be used for
Okay.
law enforcement.
Okay.
It's probably the most restrictive tax that we have. There's a 3-step test, including quote heads and beds.
And we can still come in, if I'm correct, Chief West, we can still come in under that if they're not master peace officers, intermediate or advanced.
That's true. I put in the top amount. So because we do offer a lateral, if they have the time and service somewhere else, we will bring them in at our top pay. And that's assuming a master peace officer certificate, which is, again, more pay. If it's, somebody with 1 year experience, then that number is less. And it's actually probably going to be a little less than that anyway, because we didn't present this in April. So we still have to post, we still have to test, and go through that whole background process. So it's probably going to come in less than that.
This would be an effective start date of, say, August, July?
As soon as I can get them here.
Okay. Realistically.
90 days.
No. Not if we get applications in. 30, 45?
Okay.
So any other questions for Chief West? I'm looking through, it says there's an ordinance. Do we have a
We were just
caption?
gonna,
Do a
we
budget
need a
amendment.
motion, just a motion to approve.
A motion to
budget
approve,
amendment.
okay.
Yeah.
The budget amendment in the amount of the 45,777.74 cents.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve a budget amendment in the amount of $45,070.74 for 2 additional peace officers for the 2021-2022 fiscal year.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 10, we do have 5 speakers that would like to speak. First, we have Mr. Buddy Wright. Are you here? Oh, there you are. You could come forward. You have 3 minutes. Crystal has agreed to do the timing for us so that I can focus.
Thank you.
Please be careful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Buddy Wright. I live at 1331 Stagecoach Trail. I've been a Willow Park resident for 10 years, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you all again on this. What I've handed out to y'all is the pertinent pieces of what I think the city noise ordinance are, and then some maps that illustrate the distance from Parker County Ice House out in a radius in different directions to show where that 1,000-foot marker would be. So the ordinance is really pretty clear. If you can hear the noise from 1,000 feet, it doesn't matter what the decibel level is, it's a violation of the noise ordinance. 1,000 feet north from there is at the edge of the access road. 1,000 feet to the east, you don't even hit the Willow Park Village neighborhood. And 1,000 feet south, you don't even hit Bankhead Highway. So planning and zoning did a great job of where they placed it, as long as we've got the noise ordinance being enforced the way it's supposed to be. So, I'm not a detective, like some of us here, but I have to feel like this is kind of an open and shut case. This isn't rocket science. This is what it is. You can hear this from a mile away. I live literally 1 mile from the house, from Parker County Ice House, and you can hear it inside my home. I don't know how loud you need to make your volume to be heard, at a place of business. And this is not an anti-business or anti-progress kind of issue. We just heard the need for the city tax revenue. I'm all for this. I'm all for restaurants and businesses and live music and all of that stuff in our community. But I don't need to hear it at 10 o'clock at night inside my home. And having had, I know the city council has had discussions with the Ice House. I know they've had, communications. And I don't feel like this reflects well on them as a neighbor in our community, that it just feels like we get ignored on this. If I was blasting out music in my backyard at 9:30 on a Friday night that you could hear in a mile radius around me, my neighbors would rightly be ticked off, and they would, either ask me to turn it off, and if I refused to do it, they would call the police, and I should expect to get a citation for this. I don't know why we don't hold businesses to the same level of community standard that you would hold an ordinary citizen. So I'm not asking anything from them that we wouldn't ask of our own neighbors. And I'm not asking anything more from y'all than just simple enforcement of the rules we have on the books. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. I really hope we come to a mutually satisfactory conclusion with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mike Garland. Perfect. You nailed the 3 minutes, buddy.
Thank you. Let me get 1 second remaining.
I'd actually like to pass at this point and move on to the next person, please. Good?
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfectly acceptable. Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Gary Lankford. Is that an A?
Thank you, council. I represent the company that has installed the equipment at Parker County Ice House. And I just wanted to let everybody know, like, some of the things that we've changed to kind of accommodate some of the issues. So we have turned completely off, the very top level speakers. So those should not be firing out nearly as far or as loud as the past. We are in the process of reinstalling the system at a different array pitch, so it fires further down, not as far out. So that's, a little bit more nerdy than some people. But anyways, that's kind of like our next steps. We've been extremely busy with other projects, and so that's our next steps.
When did you cut the power to the speakers?
That was done, I want to say Monday of it was probably 10 days ago, I think. It was 7 or 10 days ago. It wasn't this week, it was last week.
And not to rush you, but what's the time frame on the pitch or the angle of the speakers being changed?
So hopefully by I would say end of business, either this week or early next week. I mean, we're looking at 7 to 10 days.
So how do you, when they spec out a system like this, you got a certain area, nobody outside the fence or outside the perimeter of the ice house really needs to hear that noise. Why is that being broadcast, I would say, beyond that so much, beyond the fence?
Well, so outdoor sound is tricky because there's winds involved. If we were by a body of water, it would travel for miles, and there's nothing. It's just reflection, right? So whenever it hits a road, it's gonna go. If there was all grass out there, it would die a lot faster. But I mean, it's right on the service road going. I mean, there's a straight line of concrete going all the way down, so it's reflection, right? And you're outside, so on windier days, coming out of one direction, you're not going to hear it 1,000 feet. On days when it's blowing towards, you're going to hear it for a quarter, half a mile. So it's not that the volume's loud. It is just it's the beast of being outside, right? The outdoor. We could face the speakers directly to the ground, and you're still going to hear reflection. It's just how sound is. Just like if we were outside, you could hear me, across the yard. Same difference.
Can we do have other public speakers. We will have discussion and action potentially if you could stick around so the council has any further questions for you.
Thank you. Sure.
That way we can let our speakers have equal time. All right, our next speaker is Kyle Bryson.
Good evening, council. Good evening, citizens of Willow Park. My name is Kyle Bryson. I'm one of the owners of Parker County Ice House. Guys, we came into this city back in September. We started construction probably a year and a half ago with the intent of being good neighbors and good stewards of this city, bringing some entertainment value, good food, and overall, something that this side of Fort Worth is missing. So citizens don't have to drive 30 minutes into Fort Worth. They can have something here that brings entertainment and value to the city. We are not here to be a detriment to anybody's lifestyle. We're not here to rain on anybody's parade. We're here to conduct business. We try very hard with our sound techs that work every concert that we have to monitor the decibel levels. We work very hard with the PD to make sure that we are committing to those decibel levels. But we also want to provide an environment for guests that come and pay to enjoy their time with us. All that being said, with the money that we bring in. We do provide a lot of sales tax. You said you were up $91,000, and we are a big contributor to that, which also in turn helps the city out a whole lot. We do our part. We try very hard to accommodate both sides. We spend the money to have the evaluations done on the sound. But we also are in a place to where we're zoned commercial. We knew what we were putting in. Y'all knew what we were putting in. You knew it was going to be a concert venue with the restaurant. And we're trying to do our best to provide both sound for the citizens to be at a level that doesn't bother them, but also put out a production that people want to enjoy and come and travel to pay for to see. So we don't want to be a hindrance to anybody. That's not what we're here for. We have had meetings and we have worked diligently on our end to facilitate those sounds, and we will continue to do so. So, guys, with that, that's all I want to say, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Hope Olson.
Hi, Hope Olson, 509 Willow Park Drive. I wasn't planning to talk today, but because everything that I've said before. And I've talked to everybody, as a group and individually as well. So I just wanted to say thank you for continuing to come to the table, literally and figuratively come to the table, like we did, and continue to work through a compromise for a resolution. I know that it's been some trials for sure, and some trial and error. And if the error is continuing, I, want to offer my space to come out and test it out in my area. That's fine, right there. I'm happy to do that. But I just appreciate the council hearing the needs of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I think our last speaker is James Novak.
Hello, my name is James Novak. I live at 316 Ranch House Road. Again, on the corner of Surrey Lane and Ranch House Road, approximately 3,700 feet away from Park County Ice House. I want to thank the council and mayor on a productive and positive meeting last month. I do hope tonight we can come with a positive resolution for the citizens of Fort Worth. Citizens of Willow Park and Park County Ice House. First of all, I would like to read parts of an email that my wife received back on March 3rd. I'm not going to say who it's from, but it was from a member of the city. Last fall, we did receive a number of calls from citizens who had issues with the noise from Parker County Ice House during the live music events. We routinely had a member of the command staff for Willow Park PD on scene and monitor the decibel level, and not only to establish, but in various parts, not only the establishment, but at various parts around the city. Myself and the city manager even separately drove around one evening with our car windows down to determine whether we could hear it from some parts of the city. At the time, we did not find any verification that noise level was exceeding the limits of the ordinance. And as Buddy said, there is a city ordinance that's already a violation of that when there's multiple people calling from inside the city, inside their home, saying, hey, I can hear it. It's already the violation. There's no decibel measure needed. It's right there in black and white. The email continued. As the last night, referencing the March 2nd on Wednesday, which was a big call, I think, for the city. I think you guys got a lot of emails, a lot of calls. I think PD definitely accused those 6 officers that night because they had to, make a lot of rounds. They said we did receive some calls regarding the noise, and our team did our best to investigate. Once again, we were unable to verify and direct violation of the ordinance. Again, I don't want to reiterate over and over again, but it's right there under Section B, under 8.03.007, maximum permissible sound level, Section B. I have to admit, though, there only has been 2 separate occasions since our last meeting that we have actually heard music from inside of our house. Mind you, it's 3,700 feet away, but just 2 times. Now, the music was not playing for after 11 p.m. like the AC/DC night, but we still could hear it. It was on April 29th around 10 p.m. We could hear the music inside of our home with our fan on, and on May 7th around 10 p.m. again we could hear music from inside our home. Again, this is right around 10 p.m. It stopped probably around 10:30, but it was still noticeable. Here's the issue I'm having. On April 16, 2022, the Parker County Ice House had a band, a tribute band called the Foo Fighters, called the Everlong. It's a Foo Fighters tribute band. Being a rock and roll tribute band, I would expect them to be one of the louder bands playing. However, I did not hear music at all. Not a peep, nothing. In fact, I went outside, sat outside, I was like, there's gotta be something. No, just the drowning noise I usually hear from the highway. I was convinced that nobody played that night, so I called the next day and asked them. I said, hey, who played last night? They're like, the band Everlong. I knew at this very moment that it is possible. It is possible that the patrons of Parker County Ice House, as you said, can enjoy the nice music, the amazing talent they're having performed there, all the while the citizens who live and raise their families in the quiet town have peace in their homes. I'm so sorry, I'm almost done. I was not only impressed, but proud of the Parker County Ice House for finally listening to the neighbors and showing mutual respect. But I may have assumed too quickly. I would like to publicly ask Parker County Ice House to listen to our fellow neighbors and respect our homes and families. Many of the surrounding homes have babies and kids who need quietness inside so they can sleep and grow. To City Council and Mayor Moss, who's not here today, as we said last month, we look to you guys to fix the issue of the Parker County Ice House simply if they cannot police their own. We look to you to hold them accountable, just like any citizens held accountable for violating a city ordinance or law of this state. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any staff members that are
Carrie.
here? Chief West, would you like to?
Good evening again. So this is something that we have been closely monitoring, and we have purchased decibel meters. And I'm aware that the ordinance does say any sound that you can hear from your property. In some of these instances, though, when we get there, there is no sound heard. In some instances, there are. But just like any other citizen of Willow Park, we don't issue a ticket right away. We give them an opportunity right then to fix the problem. And if they comply with our request to turn it down, then we don't issue a ticket. So some of the calls that we've had, I don't want to say that, well, let me just tell you what they were. This past weekend, we had one call that came in. They refused contact, so they didn't want to talk to us. But they called in about the noise level, and the music had already been stopped for about 10 or 15 minutes. Another one, we got a call, 2 complaints this weekend. And at the venue, because the officers were on another call, the music was between 70 and 76 decibels. Some beats actually hit between 81 and 83. And so as we were gathering for council this evening, after the room filled up, we've actually got one of our decibel meters here, and it was 89 decibels, just for reference. On 4-9, we did respond to a house. I believe this one was on Surrey, and the officers could hear the occasional beat, some guitar licks from the front yard. We've got it on body cam. You can hear it a little bit, but it's frequently covered by the wind noise. So I'm not saying that they're not hearing the music, but even the night that I came out to listen to the music, I could hear it at certain places, but I had to roll my window down, turn everything off in the car, and I could hear it. But the highway noise covered it up a lot then too. So I understand the frustration, and I will say that we have heard it in instances, but like everyone else, we need to give them the same opportunity that we would give any of you to fix the problem that day, if that makes sense. But some of the calls that we get, for instance, one lady has called in, and she said, the music is so loud inside my house, it's keeping my child awake. And we responded, and she told the dispatcher, don't knock on my door because you'll wake my baby. So is the baby asleep or is the baby not asleep? So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so we have to kind of filter through those things and what we hear, what we observe. And what takes most of our time is the calls that we're not able to really do anything with because we're not getting a lot of true cooperation from folks. Chaparral Court had an issue and wanted to have some information on how the issue could be resolved. There was a gentleman who lives on Sam Bass who called us and stated that the music was rattling his walls. The officers arrive and they can't even hear the music at that point. So it's kind of hard to filter through all of the calls, and we get to them as quickly as we can. And what you may be hearing before we get there, because we're on the other ones, that it's going to be different. It may be different. So I know that we have talked with the Ice House, trying to come to a happy medium between the business community and all of you, because you're all important parts of our community. And I know that they have started to make improvements. I mean, the calls that we got last March, you're right, there was a lot more of them that night. We had 2 this time. So I think they're trying to be good community partners, but there again, if it gets to the point where they refuse to comply with our request to turn the music down, we will take enforcement action. That's our job.
All right. Do y'all have any questions for Chief West?
Chief West.
Oh, thank you.
I do have some, and the question is, what do you need from us to either have a better ordinance, a more enforceable ordinance? You clearly have the equipment, you think, to monitor decibels. I would like to see, especially because y'all are on the front line of that enforcement, what you think you need to change. And I'll just say, the residents who have spoken, I've heard it. I live in that area, so.
I know, you and I,
So.
yeah, we've had a
And it is,
conversation about it.
it is 100% weather-related.
Absolutely.
When the Everlong, I watched all day as the wind turned and prayed for it to turn. And at about 4 PM, it turned from the north, and I knew Everlong was not going to be a problem that night. So, I mean, it was, and I didn't hear it. So there is no question that there is an environmental situation that changes each week that we have to look at. We have to figure that out. So I'm looking to our police staff to figure out what we might need to do to help y'all monitor it. I'm thrilled that the Ice House is going to work with it. I do think, as you mentioned, the reflection and the carrying, I don't know sound waves, like I do others. So we have to rely on experts to help us with this. But when we have environmental conditions that cause it to carry, we need to address
I actually do
that,
have a
so.
recommendation.
Okay.
So when you read that section of the ordinance that one of the gentlemen brought up, it does say if you can hear it and it's active for 60 seconds, then it's technically a violation. One of the places that we went to, they stood in the front yard and they could, like I said, hear the guitar licks and the occasional beat, but the decibels at that point were 54. For reference, normal conversation runs in the 60s. So that's below a normal conversation level outside. So but by that same token, so the neighbor next door who has the big wind chimes, and you hear those more than 1,000 feet away, and they're going off with the wind we've had lately, that's a violation also, as is the neighbor who loves to ride his Harley. So my recommendation is tweaking that section so that it's not that, but keeping the other stuff in there so that, if it's within that 1,000 feet at the decibel level determined by council, and if there's no compliance, then we can take enforcement action. But my professional opinion is any discernible sound anywhere, we're going to have discernible sounds of all kinds throughout our neighborhoods and businesses. From the Harleys to the wind chimes to the neighbor who wants to fire up his lawnmower at whatever time Brian mows his yard, I don't know.
I laugh because my former city, we had to enforce and structure a ordinance on lawn maintenance hours because those people did not want to hear the lawnmower going off at 7 AM in the morning.
Well, I would like to see us do that, a more quantifiable ordinance that doesn't put you in the middle.
I'm afraid of my next door neighbor when I mow my yard.
All right. Did we have any other staff members?
That's my recommendation.
I would like to ask questions.
All right.
If that's okay. Yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
Randy?
Mr. Bryson, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, we also had someone from the city come out, I can't remember the gentleman's name.
Randy.
Walk the entire venue, I'm sorry?
Randy Law.
Yes, thank you. We all met together, we walked it, we talked, we had in-depth conversation, and he 100% agreed that it is not a decibel issue. It is the sound carried by what I cannot control, God's wind. And, you know, we tried to set this in a space facing a freeway, so it wouldn't be a detriment to anybody behind us, or to the east or to the west, but I can't control God and what he does with his wind. So, but we did in-depth conversation with one of your people from the city.
Yes.
So we're taking action steps as best as we can.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Langford,
Yes, sir.
if I could ask a couple questions.
Can you come over here?
Yes, please, that'd be great, thank you. When you are re-angling, adjusting how the noise is traveling, are you doing testing on the back wall? And are you testing it where, if at all possible, I understand you're extremely busy and you probably have a lot of things going on where maybe the wind is blowing from the south, that it would be more like the environment that we would normally see the decibels going further, I guess, to the north, from the southern winds going to the north.
So our testing is done in a software called EASE. And so we put the height of the speakers, the angle of the speakers, and it just pretty much plots out a heat map. Okay, how and red is the hottest, and it's 3 feet away, and yada yada, all the way to where it just dissipates into a white color, right? And so we've just done that in a computer aid, inside the software. We've not done it with outside with that kind of setup. You can. We have set up at full volume with our dB meter at the street level. And so typically in other scenarios, what the city has asked us to do is be at no louder than this decibel at this footage or whatever, because it's going to change I don't know how we go out there. I guess we just test infinitely until we get the right wind, or that's kind of tough. But then at that point, the microphone is picking up 90 plus dB of wind noise,
Yeah.
right? You've talked to people outside on the microphone, so on the phone. So it's just like it's kind of tough to, to me, I think you try your best. But it's not for me to say what, but we could test it any way you want. But we do this across the country, and so that's typically a footage at a certain dB level. You have to have a dB level there, or it's kind of like it's A plus whatever doesn't equal anything. You have to have an A and a B, right?
Right.
So.
Do you do testing at, you said ground level, do you do testing at the height of the speakers?
So you can put a speaker, if you really if you're tuning a room, yes, you do 6 foot increments, but in a facility like, Parker County, there's a place where, the fence line is, 30 some odd, 40 some odd feet from the speaker level. So, our thing is like, we want those people in the front to have the best experience. And then that's why we use Kyle and the ownership there spent lots and lots of money to do this. We could have put a speaker system in there that just blasts out there to everywhere. But they spent the money to array the system into a directed area. And so hope that kind of answers your question.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So does Parker County Ice House provide all the speakers and equipment for every band that comes in there?
That's right.
It's not unique equipment whenever.
It's the same system, so it can be monitored by the same engineer every week, which is Mike.
And then when
we know. So like, a lot of places just set up your own speakers, and then you're just kind of at the realm of whoever's running sound that night, right? Some speakers are louder, they're stacked, whatever, so yes, that's why it's managed that way, same sound system, every single band, every single night.
So all the speakers are at the stage facing out to the north, correct? Is that how it's all set?
Is that to the north, yes?
Yeah, facing north.
Yeah, north, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
They're
So-
elevated facing down towards the crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there was have you ever investigated if you put in a distributed system where it might, more speakers towards the back and So you keep
Well,
the volume down?
the array system is a distributed system.
It is? Okay.
So there's 4 speakers that are in a cluster that point this way, this way, this way, and this way. So they point down in an array. So if you look at it it's like a semicircle of sound. Most people just have one speaker on a stick and it just blasts out,
Right.
and it would be, it'd be way worse.
So the top 2 that are blasting out in kind of that direction, are those the ones you were referencing that you had turned off?
Yeah, the top, yes, off, yep.
Okay, so my next question, if I can, to Mr. Bryson is, hypothetically speaking, you do have or this isn't hypothetical, this is real, you have a wall on the back side of it that protects you from the street, and then across it you have the First Texas Bank. So if that wall was a little bit higher, would that potentially, hypothetically speaking, would that take the noise level down so that way it would not go across the highway if it was higher and had something that could, I mean, I guess, a noise proofing, some sort of substance on that wall or inside that wall?
So short answer is I say no, because in this room, nobody can probably hear me on the outside of that window. Maybe they can a little bit, right? But with a fence of any sort of, if it's not solid, with some sort of, real, you would be in a box with no top at that point, and then, so I would say no. I wouldn't think it would be cost effective at all to even try that.
We have a screen that extends 4 foot above our fence line now that we raised for some of the bigger concerts that we were afraid might be a little louder at times. And so we use that to help have a break of sound as well. We were in negotiations with my first landlord who owned the property about raising the fence, and he was 100% against it. The property has thus been sold to a new ownership group, and so we were in talks with them about raising the fence. But is it going to help? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it a proactive way to maybe stop some of it? Yes, it is. Is that what we're looking at? Indeed, we are.
I think something similar to the rustic, the way their fencing is, because it's an outdoor-indoor.
I'm involved with the rustic. That's one of the reasons I'm out here, because they weren't coming, and so we came out here. But I also run their security at the rustic, and I've been there for 9 years. So we have dealt with city sound and violations, and so they put this huge monstrosity up, yes. And has that helped? A little, but as you well know, sound travels all directions. You can't stop it going any direction, so it's going to hit that wall and go around it eventually. But did it help? Yes, it did some, but not what they were expecting to do for the dollar amount that they spent. So
When does the music end? What time?
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. We try to be thoughtful of not being too late, even though it is a Friday and Saturday and the football games are going past 10. We all know that, and they're loud. So we want to be mindful and stop it at 10 o'clock.
That's only on the weekends you have the live music?
We have a guy on a guitar by himself, which should never be a sound issue, on Thursdays. Fridays, we have a 2-man, maybe a 3-man band on Fridays. Once in a blue moon, we do big acts, like we did the AC/DC cover band. We do Le Freak. We do some big names, and that's about a quarterly venture when they come out for that. But typically, it's just small, local artists that play.
I have a question. The gentleman referenced, and I'm sorry, I don't follow the bands, so I've got an 18-year-old daughter, so that's good enough for me. The concert was you said it was April 16th?
Yes. Everlong.
Was that the Foo Fighters?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be probably a big, loud.
That's a big, loud band.
Okay. Did y'all do anything different on the sound? Anything different that you normally would say on the Texas Independence Day or any of these
I
other?
will say, Texas Independence Day was our first blowout coming out of winter, hibernation. We've been quiet and dormant for so long, I don't think people were prepared for that.
But
So
did you do anything differently?
on the Foo Fighters?
Yes.
No, other than at that point, I think we'd already disconnected those top 2 speakers.
Okay.
Is that right, or was that after that?
At that point, the top 2 speakers, I think, were shaded down. They weren't completely off until about 10 days ago, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that was on April 16th?
I'd have to look at the
I was trying to pull my phone out to see what
It
band
was a
was on there,
Saturday.
yeah.
I'm assuming the concert was on a Saturday?
Yes, Saturday, yes, sir.
Okay. So pulling up National Weather Service, to your point, because I remember that day because I think it was Easter, the Saturday before Easter. By the way, when you have big concerts, my phone blows up the next day.
I'm sure mine does.
So I'm starting to remember
So
when
does
you're
my
having these
social
big
media.
ones. The wind was coming out of the northwest. What time do you think the concert started?
7:45, 8 o'clock.
Okay, 7:52, the wind's at 10 miles an hour. At 8:52, it's at 13, and it's holds steady coming out of the north. To your point, if we have northerly winds, you should hear that, right? I mean, if the theory is true, you should hear that. He lives in Willow Park Village. He lives approximately, probably 2,000 feet away. You live in the far corner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in theory, you should be able to hear that, but you're not.
The music's going.
Exactly.
I was gonna say that with his sound reflection and everything, that's
But
just,
my point is this, is that
gotta turn.
It's got to turn around, yeah.
we're trying to find, and I get all that, and I know I'm being kind of over the
Yeah.
top on this one, but
It's a lot like water. It doesn't like to do.
we need to find a solution to a random issue that's being influenced by natural factors. That is right up there with me telling you what the price of diesel is going to be in 12 months. This is not an easy problem that's going to be solved. I'm thinking about hiring an 8th grader to learn about how noise travels. Because I've learned a lot about that. And y'all can sit down. Anybody got any questions or?
I was going to ask a question. Are the complaints all generated from the Saturday night events? Is that people that are complaining, or is it,
I think majority of the time, well, we never call, but I'm saying, I think.
is it the Saturday night events? Or
Aside from Texas events. The
Yeah.
majority is initiate on Saturdays or when they have the big events. I mean, I think the Texas thing was a midweek thing. but-
Wednesday.
but then usually on weekends.
The guy playing the guitar is not the issue.
Right.
There's no containment. A 6-foot wood fence is not going to contain,
Yeah.
I got your speakers up and say they're disconnected, but they're not down. I mean, I hear it's out of my house.
So
how far is your house from Parker County?
He's behind.
he's probably, I'd say 3,500 feet.
More than a mile?
3,700 feet more close than he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're on Sam Bass, I'm right at a mile and you'd be behind me, so then.
Right.
And I just wanted to add that you understand that they're reading decibel levels at people's houses, which is not the ordinance. It's from the property line. Just to go on the.
What's the decibel level at the property line, chief? She put her stuff up.
Hang on.
How many citizens are in the city of Little Park? 5,250, I think, somewhere in there.
You're a couple of years off.
Yeah.
About 7,000 is what I remember.
About right.
Yes.
The property line is 85 decibels between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., 70 between 9 and 8 a.m. And the highest I have reported so far was in, I have looked at the dates, but we had 2 readings above 85 before 9 o'clock, but it was in the same time frame, so it's like it hit a beat and raised it a little bit, but they were,
And it wasn't continuous for 60 seconds.
and that was inside the venue. That was,
This was a calibrated decibel reading, because I thought we just requested to purchase one of those.
When did you use we got some new decibel readers. We didn't need council authority. We just went ahead and did it. That was about a month ago that you got those?
6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
Are you happy with those? Do you think that that's,
So far,
The-
the readings that we have pictures of the screen were from the professional decibel readers at the venue.
okay.
I would point out the ordinance, if you have sound emitting devices, which is what this is, then it is a disturbance per se. It's a separate violation. If it's near, adjacent to a residential district, I guess that's what this would be. This is commercial zone, yours is. And then you live 337 feet away?
3,700 feet.
3,700 feet.
Set 37.
Basically, they're in
Are
this
there any
neighborhood.
residential areas right within a 300
There's a new
feet?
development to our east that is being built at this moment.
But it's
Some
not.
townhomes.
Okay.
It's not occupied.
I'll give you an idea, we're 2 doors down.
We're blocked by the bank and H&D.
So that component says it's 70 decibels if you're within 300 feet of any residence or residential area.
300.
So that doesn't apply. The second component basically says it is a violation per se if you have using sound reproduction equipment, which is what you're doing, and it causes a noise disturbance, which is defined as any sound which disturbs or which causes or tends to cause an adverse psychological or physiological effect upon the sensibilities of a reasonably prudent adult person. Any unreasonably loud or disturbing noise which is offensive to the sensibilities of a reasonably prudent adult person. And any unreasonably loud or disturbing noise which materially interferes with the enjoyment of life, health, or property, or interferes with public peace. So that's really what this would fit. It's not a measurement of the decibel level, it's whether or not it would affect essentially a reasonably prudent person. That's the way the ordinance is set up now. Because they look at this sound reproduction is obviously the most problematic noise-causing thing. All the others are lawn mowing, if you stood in your front yard, did one of those air horns, all those things are other noise ordinance. So that's what our ordinance says now. So the question is, and I've been doing this a long time, and I've dealt with so many noise complaints through the years, and I understand completely. I also understand the business. It's tough because of how, depending on the environment, the winds, the humidity, all those things affect. And of course, some people are very sensitive to noise. For example, when I first moved into my house, my neighbor worked night shifts. He didn't sleep with his, he kept his windows open, didn't use air conditioning. So if my dog barked one time, he was calling the police because it woke him up. And so I had to deal with that issue both as the city attorney in the city and an offender. And again, is a dog going to bark once or twice a night? Probably yes. Can you stop that? If you play music, is somebody going to hear it? Yes, they are. I don't think there's any way to prevent that. And so that's really, to me, the timing, the time of night. If this was going to midnight on a weekday, I'd say we got a big problem. I mean, I would like to look at the timing of things, whether or not we can, maybe eliminate the big bands and go to more of the music that is not causing a problem. Again, those are things I think as a practical matter. We want to see you succeed as a business. We don't want to harm you. At the same time, we want the citizens to have the peace they deserve. So we got to figure out a way to get there. And that's what I like what I hear you're trying to do. Again, there's so many factors to get there. It's tough. But I think we need to look at it. I think we need to get with the Ice House, figure out a way to look at the sound, the timing of it, and I think we got to look at all things because it's not easy. It will never be easily fixed. Somebody will always be the person who's sleeping during the day and up at night, and it's going to bother them. And so that's where the reason I point that out is a reasonably prudent person's sensibilities. That's what you have to try. If I prosecute them and go in there, I'll call you as the witness, the complainant, and of course, at the end of the day, you can play, if you're talking about, if the noise level is measured at, 40 decibels, and that's what you would hear in a normal conversation, it's kind of hard to show the reasonably prudent person should be offended by that. And I think that's kind of what the chief pointed out. Measuring the sound level in this room was 89 decibels, which would violate our ordinance in many spots. And you see, that doesn't make much sense, does it? And that's part of the problem on noise violations. It is fleeting, so you usually look at time of the noise, the length of the noise, the repetitive nature of the noise, what's the ambient noise level out in the area. You've got a busy I-20, it's already got a lot of noise level on it. So again, there's a lot of factors. I think we just need to look at it from a number of angles. And, I mean, changing the decibel levels and all those things, we can certainly look at that. But, I mean, I think our ordinance right now is really stricter than that if you view what a reasonably prudent person's sensibilities are, whatever that is. Because I think these people are reasonably prudent people, I do. At the end of the day, it might bother you, and the person next to you might not bother them at all. It could be the same sound level. And that's the way the world is.
Do you want, go ahead.
I got a question for the chief. So are all the complaints to the north? Or are they kind of focused in that direction, or is there a large percentage?
I don't want to say that they're all north, but I will say the vast majority, or I can't recall one to the south. I could go back and look and see, but they don't always give us a location. Sometimes they just call and say it's too loud. So I can't with 100% certainty say where they all come from. But the ones who make contact are north.
Okay.
I do have a question. Mr. Bryson, if you were to move up the concert times, I'm not telling you how to run your business, I'm very pro-business, but I'm just hypothetically speaking, if you, instead of starting at 7:45, 8 o'clock, started at 7, and that way it was done prior to the time it was needing to end to make sure it, when you had that drop between, was it 85 decibel to 70 decibel?
Yeah, I think it's what,
9 o'clock, I think that's what it is?
Yeah.
So if you were done prior to 9 o'clock on that one, just moving it up an hour, is that something Ice House would be willing to entertain?
We would look at that for sure. The issue is, what are the bands available to play in their timing as far as sound check and everything that they have to go through the motions to be able to put on their performance.
Yep.
Could we implement an earlier time? We already have. We used to play when we first started until 11, and then we scaled that back thinking, man, we need to make better arrangements to not be so loud late night. So we moved even back to 10 at this point. Could we go earlier? I can look into it. I don't want to tell you for certainty that that would happen, but it's something that we could definitely entertain and see if we can't make feasible.
Could you look into it and get back with the working group that we have on that and let them know if that's something that you and your group would entertain?
I think, I definitely think the path forward is to continue to work. I think there's, you said it, sound is not easy. This is not a simple situation. There are ice houses and concert venues all over. Everybody has some of these. Let's look at some of their ordinances, some of the things that happen in other communities. A lot of those are for residences 300 feet from it, so this is a little bit different. I'd like to, but you continuing to work with us. I think some of the things that we haven't mentioned, some of those louder bands, special permits, just simple notification. This is going to be the March 2nd, Texas Independence Day. It's like fireworks. People, you need to be aware, there's going to be sound tonight, and that's just because they got a special permit for a louder band.
And that's, we have a permit process set up that way.
Not for every night, not for all the times, but when you have something that you're saying, this is special, we want the ability to do something special at our venue, we notify, we get a permit, everybody kind of knows it, so.
Sure, that'd be awesome. We could definitely look at that.
Yeah, so I think if we look at some of those options, that would be helpful. I think the 10 PM is great. I think that's a wonderful start. But maybe staff can put together some ideas of how, I think, quantifiable type things instead of very general language.
Well, let me interrupt there. Mr. Bryson, since you and Ms. Olson and I and the city manager, Randy Law, all met for that one time when we discussed some of those options, and I believe we began kind of that what we were calling at the time, kind of a ping pong, a back and forth. We're going to find a way to keep moving until we find something that's peaceable and agreeable for everyone. Can you describe what steps have been taken since our meeting? We've talked about, I know, the top speakers being funneled down. I believe one of the things also was you now run all the sound. Nobody gets to come in with their own sound manager or something like that, like y'all control every level now for every concert so that you're not at the mercy of some guy that's just going to be like, no, this is going to be the greatest concert since Woodstock, and he just cranks it, something along those lines. What other steps, if any, have I missed, or what are we looking to do with some of those?
Well, what you mentioned, we've taken steps so far. You mentioned we are going to re-angle those positions of the speakers, but it's not just a matter of just pulling the chain and turning them. It's a matter of making sure that through his computer system and program that we put it in a certain area to where it's going to not try to travel. Again, the biggest issue is when we have a 25-mile-an-hour south wind that's just going to carry that thing, and there's nothing we can do. I mean, we're doing everything we can. We've said it, we've talked about it. Other than just maybe scaling back to 9 o'clock at the latest, it's a Friday and Saturday. I mean, like I said, the football games go louder later than 9 o'clock. But, so we'll do everything we can and continue to press forward, doing the right thing for everybody, for sure.
I have two questions for council. Is there anything specifically you want staff, I know that I'm going to ask this question and I know that I already know the answer. Is there anything y'all specifically want us to address to accommodate the residents? Do y'all want us to study a decibel and see what other cities are using? Do you want us to, we're going to do a thorough approach, but is there anything specific you want us to look into?
The other thing,
My personal.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so you're right, some of the larger communities have dealt with this in the past, Fort Worth, I'm sure. So if there's a way to access their technical staff maybe they've got some guidance and
Maybe try
technical
to
solutions, I don't know.
find an independent sound engineer?
I don't know.
I mean, Derek, you got any sound engineers running around Jacob? Okay. I hear engineers, so I'm thinking,
Yes. No, I would like for staff to look into the ordinances, expertise out there. Just, let us know what some of the options are to come up with something that is enforceable, because the way it's written now is very difficult, so.
So can we, go ahead.
I was just say, I think with each change to having someone like Randy, with each change you make, having us verify, not that we don't trust you, but saying like, we've done our due diligence, this has been done, we have a second set of eyes on it, instead of just finding ways, like I said, in the ping pong effect. So this has been done, great, we went out, we verified that, going back and forth, finding each step until we can get to that point.
when's your next big concert?
I'd have to pull the calendar out off the top of my head. Oh, thank you.
I'm
I'm
sure,
looking at Hope knows the concert schedule better than
I'm
anybody.
sure Memorial Weekend.
Again, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll get back to you with details.
Can we get that in the form of a motion that you would direct staff to look into different options for the ordinances or something along that lines, but that you're directing staff to do whatever it is that you want to do? I need that in a motion.
So moved.
Did I hear a second?
Do I have a second? Crystal's writing the motion. I direct staff to look into other ordinances from other cities in similar situations to help us develop a more enforceable and equitable noise ordinance.
All right, sounds good.
And I'd also like to have staff see if there's a technical resource outside of our,
I'll amend
we don't
my
have here,
motion
and find out
and
how we
seek
can,
out.
budget-wise, how we would handle that, how much we're talking about, and get some outside technical, independent resource that says, here's what we're up against, and, is this reasonable? And
Agreed.
just
Okay, I made the motion.
And I've got
Sean seconded.
Sean.
Yes. Any discussion on direction for staff?
I think too, seeking to reduce as much ambiguity in our language as well as we construct any of this, to where, there can be certain metrics that we can use to measure instead of the
Prudent.
reasonably prudent person and having to try to prove that in a court of law if it came to that, or whatever the case may be. We have to have, I think finding a metric would be better for our system so that it's not a he said, she said, they're fine, you're not, who is it? It's A, B, and C was not met, therefore D. So finding that language in our contract, in our,
And I'm gonna say this, and I know that Pat's already mentioned it, and I know that Brian, being in different cities that we have been in, this isn't the first time that this has been an issue for a city of this size. And noise ordinance are so hard to enforce. It doesn't matter what city you're in, they're just, I've dealt with this from a couple of different cities, so I just want y'all to know this is probably the most active that I've seen a city council get involved with a noise ordinance. So I commend y'all for that. But yes, this is it's hard. It's a hard thing to address.
I'll make one last comment. I do believe that it's there to protect the citizens, what we had in place before. It's also to protect the ice house. We don't need this interpretation every single time of what's reasonable and what's not reasonable by our police staff. It's there so we have something there that we can protect our business and say, we agreed to this ordinance, they're complying with the ordinance as it's written, and therefore they are good. You don't have to worry about the ice house complying. So I want it for our citizens so that we have something that protects them. I want it for our businesses so that they don't have to wonder every time whether the police is going to say, turn it down, knock it off. We can have something that's a little bit more reasonable as far as enforcement. So,
And one
any
more
other
item,
discussion?
yeah, on discussion. I'd like to hear from Mr. Wright, Ms. Olson, and Mr. Novak if ending the concert earlier, like around 9 o'clock, something like that, is that something that is a better path forward moving on this? Please let me know. Either text me, email me, whatever. So I'd really like to know what your thoughts are.
All right, any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Beautiful. All right. All right, thank you all for staying. I know it's been a long. So we will be having this on the agenda again as staff reports back with information on the ordinance. 11, City Hall Committee Report, discussion and action.
Tal.
That is Tal's, yes. Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Gabby.
Good evening, Council. Tal Fillingham with Jacob and Martin. I'm here to talk a little bit about the City Hall Committee report. Our company was engaged by the city to help evaluate the development feasibility of a new city hall. Certainly an exciting project. It was a fun process. I'm here tonight to just kind of talk about the culmination of that work. I'm going to pass this down, take two and pass it down. So there's two different sheets there. This is a brief summary of the work that we've done on this project. While only 2 pages, it does represent a lot of work, not just by us, but by staff, by the committee that was put together to help us work through that. Really, it was 2 primary goals. One was to develop a building program for a new city hall, which really is a spatial analysis, helps us understand what size of a city hall that you need for the programs that you offer. And then secondly, based on that size, what is an opinion of probable cost for this facility? So those were our 2 main goals. There were some other things that we did along the way, and I'll just briefly run through what that process is like, and then you guys can ask me any questions that you might have. So, like I said, we met with staff on a number of occasions. Also, the committee that was put together is made up of several council members that were involved in that process. And really what we were trying to understand is what departments that you have within the city now, how do they operate, where are you short, Where do you feel like you don't have enough staff? It's not situated in the right way? The adjacencies, are they close enough to each other that they can operate efficiently? And then also for future growth, how do we make sure that if we're going to build a facility, spend this kind of money, are we accounting for what we expect growth from a staff standpoint? So along the way, we're looking at not only just the building itself, but we spent a little bit of time looking at sites, talking about different sites, evaluating whether this needed to be a one-story or a two-story facility. We actually generated a few floor plans, conceptual floor plans along the way. Those were all one-story. I think at some point during the process, we actually paused for a little while you guys worked on some other things, and we started back up. One thing that I think for sure where we landed was that it became pretty apparent that a two-story facility was probably the direction to go. There's a handful of reasons for that. I think probably one of the main reasons would be the footprint of the building. I don't know if y'all know this, but property around here is not cheap. So the smaller the footprint, the smaller a piece of dirt that you need. Obviously, you're going to need something outside of that city hall. Parking. I know when I pulled up today, I think as I was walking in, we were talking about how we grabbed the last couple of spots. I'm sure there were others parked elsewhere, and so certainly you need. At times, you're going to have council meetings that you're going to need to park a bunch of people. So we spent some time looking at that. So where we landed was with a two-story facility. That's what we've got outlined in our building program, which is the first page. And then our opinion of probable cost, construction cost for a facility of that type. We landed somewhere between 15 and 16,000 square feet is what you guys would need to accommodate staffing needs both now and for the foreseeable future. So it's a pretty big facility. And, I tell people, I used to be really good at telling you how long it would take to build something and how much it would cost. I haven't been very good at that over the last 18 months. Inflation is, I guess, historic, certainly in my lifetime. So it's been tough. But, I think the date that we've got shown on that opinion of probable cost of May 9th, I tell you, it may have changed by today. But I do feel like we do a lot of work, bid a lot of projects, and feel like we have our finger on the pulse of construction cost. And so I do feel confident about that today. Who knows what the future holds, but I feel like this 15 to 16,000 square foot facility, I think we show it at 15,745. I wouldn't really get locked in on that number too much. Again, we're in the conceptual phase, trying to decide roughly how many square feet you need. We've got that project sitting almost to $7 million. So it's a lot of money. But it would be a very nice facility. We talked quite a bit with staff about give us some idea of the type of facility you would like to see. They sent us a bunch of pictures, visions for us to help us understand what ultimately you might like to see built. That's how we approached our cost estimate. So certainly this is a nice facility, one that would have a lot of utility, not just now, but in the future. And so we've got that opinion of probable cost sitting just under $7 million. So like I said, our work in this really a feasibility process is very conceptual in nature, but it gives us a very good start and a very good understanding of what order of magnitude it's going to take to get you guys a new space. A lot of other components as we went through it. I won't bore you with all those details unless you just want to know. More than happy to talk through it. Us engineers, we kind of love to talk about what we do. So with that, I'll answer any questions if I can.
So was there any evaluation of purchasing an existing structure for renovation, or is it all new construction?
This was all an evaluation of ground-up new construction, not renovation. I will say, step one, we toured this facility and talked about possible renovation of this and what that might look like. That came to an end pretty quickly. This is nowhere near what you need. And so I think you would almost want to scrape this off and start again.
Yeah.
And those were some of the very first discussions that we had out of the gate. Now, to evaluate another facility, absolutely. We can go in and evaluate facilities, but we know generally the space we need, right? And so we would have to find the facility, and it would be specific to that facility to generate a feasibility or opinion of probable cost of what it might take to turn that facility into what you would need. So it'd be very site specific. This is really set up from a standpoint of just ground up on any greenfield.
And this is just construction, not land acquisition, if we had to go do anything like that?
No, sir, not land acquisition. So we did include FF&E furnishings, furniture for the facility. So we've got an item in there. Also, design fees. Certainly, that's something that, while not directly a construction fee, you've got to have it, and so we included that as well. So there's certainly some other costs associated with getting a new city hall. But these are going to be your construction and design and FF&Es. And we looked at a bunch of different sites, almost just scattered around, some intentional, some just kind of brainstorming, and it was really all over the map, to be honest with you. I mean, it's kind of like what I said about renovating a building. You've got to hone in on the site to really understand what the cost is going to be of that.
So for the size that we expect Willow Park to grow to at build-out, is this the building that would take us to build out for city staff of the size that?
I believe it would. I mean,
Okay.
this is,
Yes, I believe so, for the departments that we've included.
Okay.
So it would be important to understand what all we've included here. Obviously, y'all have other city services that are not part of this.
Right.
If you decided you wanted to roll those in, we would need to take another quick look
Okay.
and run through that and do that again, run through the
Okay.
process one more time.
there's, when you build this thing, you just realize most of the building's going to be empty. Some of the office space is just going to be empty because we don't have 2 assistant city managers, and we don't have, the support staff. As we grow, we'll start to add that staff. As I think the big picture here is that we want to build a building that's big enough, and then we can adjust the office space however we need to. If the mayor doesn't have an office, then maybe Nate can have an office or something.
Yeah, I guess the idea is if we're going to build it one time, try to make it last for 50, 100 years, so we're good stewards of our tax dollars on that. So, I mean, one of the things that I guess is really important to a lot of people in Willow Park is when can we hold another election in our city hall? We haven't been able to do that in years. So having that and other things on there, I think that's extremely important. But I think if we're going to do it, might as well structurally and build out so that way we're not like, some of our other cities out there that have built one 10 years ago and they've already outgrown it and they're looking to build another one. And so, just trying to think ahead as best as we can.
And I don't think this is quite as ambitious as some of the other cities in Parker County as well.
There's some pretty high numbers on a recent one, I think. So.
Right. We'll find. I guess they'll find out tomorrow night. But.
Yeah.
All right, so do we need an action to accept do we need?
Yes. Motion to accept the.
And again, this is, I guess, just clarification for everybody out there. This is not we're doing this and taking this debt on. This is just us looking at this, accepting what they have presented, and that's it. There is no
You're
debt
accepting.
attached
You're not
to this
issuing
at all.
debt. You're not even right. No, this is
So
we paid for a study. He is giving the report for that study. We now have a study that says we need 15,000 square feet. I agree with Tal. I think that we're seeing this not only in this area, but we're seeing, and I think Derek may get to this later, we're seeing this in all areas. Costs are just very volatile at the moment. And so I appreciate the number. I think the number's probably, that number may change in 6 months, may go up and it may go down. I mean, but I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally get where you're coming from. But this is just basically saying we need a 15,000 square foot building, preferably 2-story, because land's expensive.
Yep. Just making sure everybody knew that, but I move to accept the needs analysis and final report from the City Hall Committee as presented by Jacob and Martin.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Sean. Any discussion? Further discussion? All in favor? I think
That's Farmington, right?
Fillingham.
Can you spell that for me?
Fillingim.
And where did you go to school?
The Texas Tech University.
There you go.
The next item on the agenda is budget calendar.
Not
For-
Farmington, Bill.
Yes. All right, quickly.
Yes, I will be very brief. I know y'all like this. Let me pull it up on my, there it is. Okay, this is going to be roughly the same calendar we did last year. On July 9th, we'll file a proposed budget with the city secretary, knowing full well that I won't have my certified values till the end of the month, but I can at least get the enterprise funds done. I can get most of the general fund done. And keep in mind, the July 9th is just a simple estimate. We talked about this earlier. 3.5%, if we went that route, is a $60,000 increase. I'm flirting with the idea of trying to get us a no new revenue rate. I want to do a sales tax analysis with Jake later this, probably next month, and see if we can just make up the differences off of sales tax and see what our sales tax projections are looking like. We're scheduled to have a budget workshop that's optional. I've got all departments on there, but candidly, I think you probably want to hear from fire and PD. City services is your general fund. Your water fund is pretty much done, and your sewer fund is very, very nominal. It's pretty much the same from year to year. So we'll have all departments available to council as always, but I think the two big ones will be public safety. July 25th, we're going to get the deadline, the certified tax appraisal from the CAD. I did put their preliminary number in here. If the percentages hold true, we will have some loss off of this $762 million. Roughly, it's around 20% every year. So we're looking at about $615 million of taxable value for next year. That is an increase, a significant increase from last year. July 26th, which is obviously the next day, we'll hold a record vote for the tax rate, and then we'll put that in the paper on the 29th. On August the 9th, council will adopt the budget and the tax rate.
All right, so when are you proposing budget workshops?
Whenever y'all want. I've got July 12th knocked out for a budget workshop, that whole.
Do y'all typically do those in the morning or in the evening?
We do it council.
In the past,
Excuse me?
one of the ways that we've done is start a budget workshop at 6 p.m. And do 1 hour budget workshop prior to a council meeting. And then if we need another, we do it prior to the next. That's just to make it convenient. So is that, I'm going to propose that we do that.
Yeah, that seems
Just
to work
schedule.
well last year.
Crystal is on board.
Yes.
I'll tell you this. I'm almost 100% certain we will be lowering the tax rate. I know that Rick's probably going to quote me on that, but I'm with the value increase that we have. I think we will lower the tax rate. How much is is going to be a question for how much money do we need to generate. Right now, we're kind of estimating bringing in rough 1.9 in property taxes. Now, that's, we just had 1.6. How's that possible? The new calculation from the legislature, and this is where she hates me because I keep
Well, I want to stay on, we're doing the calendar. That's what we're going to talk about in July, so I'm going to interrupt you and say. We have a council meeting July 12th. Do you feel that you would be ready to do a budget workshop on
Yes.
July 12th?
Yes.
So can we propose 6 PM on July 12th? And then we have the opportunity to do the 26th. If we want to, we can determine on the 12th whether we want to schedule that. All right, I'm channeling my inner Doyle, so.
Wow. The man's in Sweden, he still cuts me.
Yes, so do we need, it says action, I'm just going to propose that. Do we,
No, you don't.
Do we need a motion or what do we need?
I think we need a motion for that. So we will move on to item 13, to set the May 24th city council meeting. So that is our next
I'm going to
council meeting. You have something to say?
I want to propose that I don't have anything for the council, obviously, than this ordinance for the noise. I don't know if we'll be prepared for that by then. I also know that we have a council member that's going to be very interested in the events of that evening as well.
Gymnastics and ballet rehearsal, or recital. That's where I will be.
The first one.
First one.
The first one.
First
You can't
one.
miss that.
4-year-olds.
Do we want to keep it on the calendar and then cancel prior
We
to?
can- we can do that.
Just in case there's business that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, here's my thing. I would hate for there to call a special
Right.
meeting.
Yeah.
And we're already short people. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can keep it on the books for the 24th and you're out, I just need to make sure that Greg, Sean, and Nathan are here. And we're good for a quorum on the 24th if something comes up. But if not, then we can cancel it.
Okay.
So I would say let's assume that we will still have the meeting unless we have no business, and then we'll notify
Perfect.
everyone in time to cancel it. So, and that's the action, so. Future agenda items,
I have the noise ordinance.
noise ordinance, yes.
I'd like to, probably not for the next council meeting or two, but down the road, later this year at some point, begin looking at the opportunity to extend our waste treatment services further north to allow citizens currently on septic systems to have access to that. We're opening that up for them down on the south side of the interstate with that pump station, so we conquering some of that and giving that opportunity, but I know I just want to understand, what we're up against, some ideas of cost and what that might entail overall, plant impacts and things like that. I think there's some interest out there for that service up on the north end of the city. And I think we have an obligation to look at that, but we really need to see what that would entail, so.
How long would it take for you to get a thorough,
I could do that in June. I mean, I've already looked at that
okay,
on a cursory level, so some of that preliminary work has been done.
June, July timeframe?
Sure.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other agenda items?
Yes, I do. Mr. Wood brought up a couple of great points about the recycle pickup and how the truck is leaving behind lots of should be recycled materials, but leaving it scattered everywhere. Can we talk with our yeah? Can we get some action item on that for them to do something about that and correct this behavior?
Let me visit with Republic and see what, let me talk to Republic and then we'll see if there's any action that needs to be taken.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying there isn't, I just don't know what action that would be at this moment.
And what can we do with the new construction, making sure that they are picking up their trash and having some sort of bin that they can close? Because we have seen a lot of wind.
We have
a lot of trash blown around the city.
You want to answer that? You want me to, Bill?
Bill's not.
Bill's not listening.
We have a code enforcement
We,
officer.
we
that-
have.
These just need to be addressed
We-
at that level.
With new construction, we have ways of persuading.
Okay, and also with the dirt and outside of the, I guess, the. berm.
Erosion control.
Yeah, erosion
The-
control.
yeah.
So I just want to make sure we look at those and address them, because I've seen them as well, so.
Yep.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Any other agenda items to add? All right.
Yeah, department reports.
We have department reports. It's 9 PM. Do we need a short break?
I can,
Or can we power through the department reports?
Push through.
Push through. All right, Public Works report. All right. Is the-
thank you for staying, Michelle.
Yes.
Can't wait to see you at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Counselor, I'm going to be real brief because I'm tired and I got an early morning tomorrow. Your accounts are up and your usage is down in both water and wastewater, and I'm really happy with it. Do y'all have questions?
Okay.
Are we prepared for the peak season?
Yes, we are.
We're getting water from Fort Worth.
Yes,
How much water are we getting a day from Fort Worth?
about 450,000 gallons.
450,000. So if we continue that with our max production of wells, we're
We'll be
looking at
fine.
right at 2 mil.
Yeah.
The maximum cap last year was 1.6.
5 or 6,
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, so.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Any questions from Michelle?
One thing that goes on with this, have we submitted, I guess, locations where our water, wastewater areas are that we need power in case we have a blackout?
Yes, we've actually,
With,
that was all due March 1, so.
Okay, good. So we did do that.
Mhm.
Okay. I know that was really important for them, so that way they didn't cut services
Yes,
to our people.
and I've received confirmation from both, so.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Thank you.
City Secretary.
Oh, this is very good.
I just wanted Mayor and Council to give y'all an update on our records retention. Thank y'all for allowing us to be able to do this. RCI came out the week of March 8th. I'm sorry, on March 8th, y'all approved the city manager to go ahead and sign the contract with RCI to do our start our records management. And RCI came out the last week of April. They spent all week here out at Public Works. So thank you to the Public Works guys are amazing. We do not give them enough praise for everything that they do, because they don't just do our water stuff. They also take care of City Hall whenever we need them. But they estimated about 800 boxes that we had in the Connex and in our storage facility. We ended up having 570 boxes worth of stuff and maps. They went through all of them. They need to come back because they weren't able to get through everything. So they have about another 160 boxes to go through. We worked very hard that week, and I'm very happy to see where the records management process is going. We have estimated 272 boxes that are already ready for destruction. They've all met their retention. When James comes back on the 23rd, the week of the 23rd of this month, to finish out the other 160 boxes, more than likely all of that will be due for destruction as well. So I've already received a quote from RCR for the destruction, and it should be $6.50 per box and $7.50 for per large box. So we're doing good.
Awesome.
And we're moving forward. The next step is destruction, and then from there, we'll start organizing and getting, start our process. So I'm enlisting the help from Tony over at Public Works. Michelle's been so kind enough for her to lend me Tony. And Tony and I are going to be visiting some records room from other cities surrounding, so that way we can, the great thing about this is that it's a mess, and we're able to make it what we want it to be for the future. And that is the starting point for us. We're going to start looking at other cities and their records of retention rooms, so that way we can see what's going to be best for our city.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will say this, we found a certificate, a flag,
Oh, yes.
the certificate from the House, and a letter from Phil King in the Connex box, right?
No, I
Was-
found it in the back room in your office.
In my office, in
the-
that
Yes.
closet. It commemorates the 50th anniversary of Willow Park, and it was
It was just thrown in
buried.
my back office and I found
And
it.
it's hanging on the wall out there, but it's the 50th, and it was done in 2013.
Derek. Mav started 10 minutes ago. That's
Sorry, I should have been waiting in the queue.
Yeah.
We got the orchestra.
I think you guys have a list of the 8 projects, there's 6 capital
I
projects.
gave you an updated list. You should be at your seat. Yep.
Yeah. So I'll go through them quickly. I don't have updated OPC on these. Prices have been increasing, as you know. Cal mentioned it. We had a concrete increase just the other day that I was told it's jumped quite a bit. So most of these you'll see are culminating design in the June, early July timeframe. So I'll have costs coming in for you guys around when those 90% set of plans or so are done. So the first one's the wastewater treatment plant. A little clarification on that. We're designing it. It's in design right now. As far as the funding agency, the TWDB is concerned, it's actually in the planning stage. The environmental that you guys, we had the public hearing on last month, is under review, and then they have to approve that before they'll approve the preliminary engineering. So all that has to be done. My plan is, just like we've talked about before, is to have the design done and ready to go when that happens. So the schedule really hasn't changed on that. I pushed it a little bit toward the end of June to have a set of 90% plans ready to go through, and I think we're on track for that. The golf course effluent irrigation line, which is really the effluent discharge line from the new treatment plant, but it'll serve both functions. We've got that about 75% complete now. We met today and talked about it. There are a couple of easements we have to get. One is from Jim Martin, the other's from the golf course. So, and one little area from the Wilkes. So that shouldn't be a hindrance, but we'll be in a position to bid that out if that's what's elected by the end of this month. So
That's Reservoir 23, right?
yes.
Or is that OSA?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's Reservoir 23, yeah. Yeah, and I've had discussions with Westy in the past, but nothing's materialized yet on that. They've been, I think they're considering it on their end. The Bankhead South Sewer Extension, the lift station and sewer line from the south side, we're having the pre-construction conference for that tomorrow. So construction will start on that sometime within, I expect, within the next couple of weeks, barring issues with material supply. But I talked to the contractor today, and I think he's thinking it'll get started. The water line that will connect basically both sides of the river from the same location with the lift station on Bankhead to the other side where Bankhead terminates. We're working on that. That's in the early stages, but I expect sometime in mid-July to have a set of plans ready on that. The capital improvement plan, so we're working on an impact fee study, and the first step of that is that we have to update your capital improvement plan. That has to be done every 5 years. And it has to be current in order for you to install impact fees or change your impact fees. So the capital improvement plan is essentially done. I wound up going through and updating your land use plan, which was, I think it was 2014 was the last time that was updated. So we had to do that in order to get the capital improvement plan complete, in order to get the impact fees complete. So we just finished the land use plan. The capital improvement plan is already written and ready to go. So we're going to try to take that to the CIP committee in June.
Okay.
And then the impact fee will be ready to go. And that, the CIP and land use will have to go to you guys in July, but I'll have the impact fee ready to go within the following meeting from the CIP that you'll have to adopt. So that's the time frame on those. The drainage project, the bond issue for the drainage project is under design. We've got most of the surveying complete on that, so we're about to start putting together plan sets on that, and that one's also, we're looking at a mid-July timeframe for that to be ready to put out for bid. And then the street project is along the same track. The surveying, I think, it's 95% complete. Our guys are out there as we speak, or have been the last few days, and I think they've finished up the bulk of it. And the guys in the office have already started drafting on what they surveyed in previous days. So June 24th is my target to get the set of plans together for that. Those dates, we talked about this a month or two ago, I can't remember, but the only date that's changed on here is the capital improvement plan and the wastewater plan. And I shifted those a couple of weeks on one and roughly a month on the other. So street project and drainage project are on the same track that we talked about.
Okay. Any questions for Derek?
Good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, planning and development. Tony?
Very briefly, the report that is in your packet, the commercial number should be 3, the residential should be 72. So as much as we would like that to be reversed, it's not. And that's 58 for the villages, the townhomes. So just so you know where that's coming from. And then at the preserves at the bottom, that is actually completed construction. So number 11, so that will come off the report the next time.
Okay.
And that's it.
Any questions for Tony? I hope not, because she's already went. All right, thank you. Okay, mayor and city council comments. I'm going to say I don't have any comments because we've commented a lot. So, well, I will say thank you for the participation from the citizens, from the Ice House, from everyone. It's a difficult situation, and I don't think it's an easy fix, but we're all committed to working through it. But I do appreciate the input, continual. It's necessary. So I'll say that. With Doyle gone, any other council members?
Yeah, mine's kind of late, but during spring break, we had grandchild here, and he was up at the new park and really loved it. So kudos to your team and everybody that worked on that. So
Awesome. Well, thank you.
he, 6-year-old gives a double thumbs up.
That's who we want to please. Well, and I will say, I didn't put it on the future, but since you brought that up, we will be doing updates from our Parks Board, some of the other things we have in the works for trails and some Cross Timbers Parks improvements. So we have, fortunately with Tony on our staff, been putting in a lot of time and effort on that. So council, we will, when we don't have a 2.5 to 3 hour meeting, we'll talk about parks. So when we don't have other things.
Yeah, I want to recognize all the people that have run and those that actually got elected this last week. Lido, Hudson Oaks, and other cities. And just commend them for running, putting themselves out there, and just trying to serve the public, because it is a very thankless job serving the public. And I really appreciate them doing that. And just to make sure everybody knows that there is another election coming up. I know it's shocking. May 16th through May 20th is early voting, and election day is the 24th. Please vote.
May 16th through what?
The 20th
20th.
is early voting.
Early voting.
And election day is the 24th. A lot of the other cities around us that actually had local elections didn't have a very big turnout. Usually in runoffs, you don't have a big turnout, so every vote is critical. So I really encourage everybody to go out and vote, do your civic duty, and let your voice be heard.
How many times can we vote?
Do you have any comments?
I think I'm good.
All right, city manager comments?
I'll be brief. Staff's going to be in and out. We're putting a schedule together for vacations and whatnot, so kind of bear with us. I'll be at a budget workshop next Thursday and Friday, so I'll be out of the office then.
Awesome. Okay, we do have executive session. Yes, we do. So I'm going to, can I
Do a 5-minute
convene into
recess.
that? And then
You can adjourn the open session.
Okay, I will adjourn the open session, do a 5-minute recess, and then we'll go into an executive session. So
Do we need?
I'm adjourning open session at 9:18 PM.